Hello, everybody. Good to see you. Hope everybody's in a good mood. I'm in a peppy dance kind of mood. I've been looking up some songs online, and so I got a bunch running through my head, so it makes me kind of want to bob my head to some of these tunes, I guess. But that's okay. We'll get into that in just a moment. Good to see you. We are here on this Tuesday, August 4th, 2020, Election Day, at least here in Missouri. Hope you all exercise that responsibility and privilege to be able to vote, and I hope you did that. Great if you did. If not, next time, be there. Let your voice be heard. But that's not what we're talking about today. We are talking about love. Love, right? Yeah. Hey, speaking of love, what are some of your most favorite or memorable love songs? That's what I want you to post right now. Even if it's after the fact, you're watching this afterwards, it's not live, go ahead and post some of your favorite love songs because it's just fun to go back and listen. And really, I'm doing this for another reason. Even if you don't want to put a love song down, will you at least chime in and put your name? Just say you were listening after the fact, just because I want to keep track of how many people are listening in or watching, because a lot of times the view count is just completely obscure and absurd, and I know that's not the actual count. So what I'm trying to do is see the people that we are connecting with and connecting to. Other individuals have asked me, and I didn't have an answer. So I thought this might be a great way to do this. So even if you're not live, and if you are live, go ahead and put your name down. Say, hey, you are here. But while you're doing it, if you like, please put down the name of some of your favorite love songs. And even if it's not your favorite, whatever song just kind of pops into your mind when I say love song. So go ahead and do that now. I'd like to give us a few minutes here to put that down and to think about it. And I'm stretching this out a little bit because I know, especially when we do these premiere videos, sometimes it takes a while for the message to get across Facebook land and YouTube land that this is happening. So it gives people some time to see that notification pop up, and they can click on it and then get over here. So I don't like to just jump into it because then people miss the message and they don't always come back or forget to come back. So I don't want them to forget. So if you're popped in late, I haven't started yet. We're talking about love songs. What is some of the love songs that you have from your memory, past, present, whatever? What is it that first comes to your mind when I say, what is one of your favorite love songs, right? Maybe you'll put down the song that you danced to with your spouse. That would be pretty romantic, right? Or just some of your favorite ones. It doesn't have to be that. Whatever it is that you'd want to do. By the way, my wife and I, we danced to The Day Before You. The Rascal Flatts sang it. Never was a really popular one. It didn't come out on the radio, but I thought it was really appropriate for us, and that was our song. Not too many other people can say that. You should go look it up. Written by Matthew West, actually. Contemporary Christian songwriter. Beautiful song. So what are some of the ones that you came up with? I want to pull it back up here. I found a list on the Not.com of some of the top 100 of all time, right? Some things you expect, some that I didn't necessarily know or have heard about, right? Unchained Melody, Righteous Brothers, I know that one. Very popular one. Time After Time. I'll Always Love You, Whitney Houston. And these aren't in any order, by the way. They didn't list them, I don't think, in any particular ranking. That'd be hard to rank a number one of all time. How would you do that? So many songs. I don't know how people do that. When a Man Loves a Woman, classic one. All right. My Love, Paul McCartney. Endless Love, right? That's a classic one. I'm not going to sing it. My Endless Love. No, I'm not going to sing it. All right. Andy's song, John Denver. I Want to Know What Love Is. I'll be honest, the one that I thought of is, what is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Okay, you didn't ask me to sing. Anyway, Crazy for You. Man, see, I just got these tunes in my head. You've lost that love and feeling. I don't know why, man. That's the one that always comes to my mind. Righteous Brothers. Woo, yeah, definitely. Anyway, there's a bunch of them. What are some of the ones that you've come up with? What is love? Oh, man, some classic ones. So the reason why I'm thinking about this is actually because of what I am thinking about in terms of election time. Right? Election time. I mean, yeah, this isn't about the election, but I was thinking about love because let's be honest, we are not at a stage right now where love is on the tip of our tongue. Now, I'm not going to get into the politics and things and stuff that our country is going through. I'm not going to do that. But man, it just seems like love isn't always on the tip of our tongue. It's not something that we always are considering or even thinking about. So we're going to be in 1 Corinthians chapter 13, talking about love. And oftentimes when we say love, romantic love is probably the first thing that we think of. And that's not bad. It's just not the only way that we express love. Right now, of course, what we're going to discuss and talk about is the godly kind of love. And we're not going to go through all the kinds of love. We're not going to do that. You've probably done that many occasions. But that godly love is the root of all of those other different kinds of loves that you can think of and have ever thought of or talked about. So, what does that mean? And a lot of the times when couples come in for premarital counseling, I'll ask that question, why do you want to get married? And it's fun to hear the stories, and I'd like to a lot of times use those stories in the homily that I'll share during their actual marriage. But it's kind of funny because they always are a little bit embarrassed when I say, why do you want to get married? Because when they're asked that question, they usually are going to respond by saying that silly little phrase, we love each other. And they're kind of embarrassed to say that because they know that I'm going to ask a follow-up question. Well, what do you mean you love each other? And sometimes it's embarrassing for us to express how we feel. We can say, yes, I love each other, but what does that mean? I'm going to challenge you. I really am. And I'm going to challenge myself too. When you go home tonight, if you are married, go to your spouse and say, I love you, and wait for them to say it back. But then ask the question, but be prepared to answer it yourself. In fact, maybe you should answer it first. Say, what is it that you love about me? Oh, it can be a little uncomfortable, can't it? And by the way, it's not fair to critique them based upon whatever their first answer might be, all right? So I love you because, but don't embarrass them, all right? Just listen, take it in. It's a good thing, right? What does love mean? What does it mean to be in love? And you look at these lists of songs, and there's a lot of associations with love and feelings, right? I have this feeling. And feelings aren't bad, but that's not the root of it. It goes beyond that, right? We talk about a commitment and the joy that we have in loving one another, especially in the commitment of marriage. It goes beyond feelings, right? If it was just feelings, then shoo, marriages would end just like that, right? Because the feelings come and go, but the commitments that we have. Now, why is the other reason why I'm bringing this up? What is the other reason? Not just because of the election and sometimes the lack of love that we see. This story that I read just recently, and this is a story that's been out for a long time, but it was a story that I really never knew about, and that's the story of the Auburn tree killer. I remember when it first happened, but I never really followed up with what that actually meant. But the person that killed these Auburn trees just recently died. So I read that and I felt the need to revisit the story. And what you really, I guess, kind of need to know is that there's this history of Auburn University where there's Toomer's Corner. That's the corner of two roads that come together. And they had these oak trees, I guess, and they're still replanting them, still trying to grow them. I don't know what stages that they're at right now. But whenever there was a victory, especially over their rivals, originally it was with the football team. Whenever the Auburn Tigers defeated the Alabama Crimson, what are their names? The Alabama Crimson something. Roll Tide, right? Crimson Tide. Yeah, that's what it is. Whenever there was a victory over their rival, they would teepee these oak trees. It would look like snow on top of these trees, and it was a really big deal. And eventually then it would come to be, I guess, that whenever there was a victory for any particular team, they would decorate these trees, right? Well, this individual killed these trees, right? His name was Harvey Updike Jr., I guess. He poisoned these 80-year-old trees. And I'm reading this because I want to make sure I get the quote right. And basically, he said eventually that the reason why he did this, just listen to this. I don't understand this concept. But he said, I wanted Auburn people, he was an Alabama fan, I wanted the Auburn people, I'm sorry, I lost it. I wanted Auburn people to hate me as much as I hate them. Really? I mean, that's why he did this. I mean, this guy was so obsessed with his team. I'm assuming that's what it was. Right? He loved Alabama. I'm guessing there was a loss. I didn't read the history. It probably doesn't really matter. But he felt the need to kill these trees that his rival school rallied around. He wanted that school to hate them. He wanted the whole people, the whole community, to hate him as much as he hated them. And in reading the story, it said that he studied up on this. He wanted to know exactly when would be the best time to attack these trees so that he could get away with it. And he found out the best time, and he poisoned this tree. And it said that it would only take a little bit amount to poison these trees, but he did a big amount because he wanted to make sure that it killed them. And truth is, it sounds like he really would have gotten away with it, but he ended up calling into a radio program and confessed that he did it. I don't think he gave him his real name, but eventually they got back to him. I probably should have read more up on the story, I guess. But the fact is that even just doing it wasn't enough for him. He wanted to make sure people knew it was him. The effort that this individual went through to make sure people would hate him. The energy it took to make sure people hated him. I just find this baffling. What's the point in this? Is this going to bring him some sort of satisfaction? We know it won't, right? Because that kind of anger, that kind of bitterness, it builds up within you, that it rots you to the core. It'll eat you away. In fact, the reality is as long as you continue to hate and be in anger and have this kind of violence towards somebody else, that it gets to the point where it overtakes your psyche, your soul, and that's the only thing that you can think of. It really ends up controlling you. And it impacts every ounce of your being. Isn't that true? To have this kind of hatred towards somebody else, it doesn't stay isolated. This is true. Psychologists will tell you this. If you have this kind of anger and hatred towards another individual, it doesn't stay isolated to that person, but in the end, it's going to end up backfiring. It's going to flood or bleed over into the other relationships that you have too, to where you're going to have this bitterness expressed into all these other relationships because that particular relationship has to be dealt with. This is true for individuals that have had relationships go bad when they were children. And if they don't deal with some of these issues, it'll spill over into their adult life too. So, what is love? That's why I'm asking this question. Love isn't easy. Love isn't based off of a feeling. Love is hard work. But it's a work that's worth it. The effort that this individual put into hating his rival school could have been used to love these people that he did not like. And probably in finding these individuals and finding ways of loving them would have changed his own view, would have changed his own world, and bridged some of the gaps that he had in his own life. Listen to what St. Paul says in 1 Corinthians. If I speak in the tongues of men and of angels, but have not love, I am a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. And if I have prophetic powers and understand all the mysteries and all the knowledge, and if I have all faith so as to remove mountains, but have not love, I am nothing. If I give away all I have, if I deliver up my body to be burned, but have not love, I gain nothing. Love is what? Patient, kind. It doesn't envy. It's not boast. It is not arrogant. It is not rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. But see, love bears all things, love believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. See, what is everlasting? What is something that's going to move forward and change all things? Love never ends. Prophecy passes away. Tongues will cease. Knowledge will pass away. But what will endure? Faith, hope, and love. But the greatest is love. No, we're not talking about marriage today. No, we're not talking about Auburn versus Alabama. We're talking about Jesus. We're talking about the greatest love. Where Jesus would make this great investment. I mean, if there was somebody who had the need or had the reason, that's the better word, had the reason for showing anger, for making people pay, for there to be a rivalry to exist, it would be God and mankind. Because God created this picture-perfect world and everything was wonderful, and we screwed it up, and we still screw it up. But God doesn't hold on to it. Instead, what does he do? He chooses to send his son to lay down his life. See, hating and anger wasn't going to change anything, but love changes the world. Does that sound cheesy? I hope not, because that's actually true. Think about that when you're thinking about some of the interactions that you're going to have today, tonight, tomorrow. How is it that you can show love? Not the way that we hear it in songs, but how is it that you can be patient and kind, not arrogant or rude? How is it that you can bear all things, believe all things, hope all things, to not rejoice in wrongdoings? What does it mean to truly love? And see, you might not be able to change the world like Jesus did, but you know what? By loving somebody, your spouse, your children, your enemy, maybe even your political enemies, truly loving, you might not be able to change the world, but I guarantee that as you keep loving the people that God has given you in your life, you will be changing their worlds. And you know what? Even more than that, I think that you're going to find that in loving other people, you're going to be changing your world too. Man, if we all take part of that, loving people the way that God loves us, man, that might be something worth singing about. Hey, good to see everybody. I will talk to you Thursday. I think we'll be live Thursday. Woo! All right, have a good day, everybody. We will see you then. Bye.